Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Them on the Moon. Um, wow, dude, I got a doozy today too. I store up so much stuff throughout the week that I want to share, and I'm starting to think it's too much every week, and I need to chill. But the other part of me is like, whatever, dude, just do your thing. Just do what you want to do and share what you want to share if you think it's worth sharing. So that's what I'm gonna do today. So, let's get straight into it. I'm in Bangkok. I've been here for a couple days. I'm at my new Airbnb. I don't really know what area of town it's in. It's like a guest house that's attached to another house, but my area is private. It's very small, doesn't have a kitchen. And it's just got me thinking there's always trade-offs every time I go to a new Airbnb. Like my spot in Hanoi was like so nice and spacious and just freaking awesome and like fancy, but like there wasn't really a bunch of good food options. There wasn't a bunch of stores and stuff around, and like there was some conveniences that weren't that good, etc. And there were some mosquitoes in there that I would have to kill, which was kind of annoying. I get to my spot in Jakarta. It's pretty nice, but way smaller, no mosquitoes, way more convenience. But the hot water only lasted when I took a shower for about frickin' 1 or 2 minutes. So that kind of sucked. Now I get here, I got unlimited hot water, but there's no kitchen in here. There's no gym. I had a gym in Jakarta, but I got a kettlebell here. And there's just different inconveniences and new conveniences. There's like a 7-Eleven literally right outside the gate that has like kind of whatever I need. There's way more food options, etc. But it's always interesting traveling how there's just trade-offs. It's always fresh and new and something different happening. So that's interesting. But so yeah, I'm here. I'm ripping it. Let's look at what I'm wondering about this week and get straight into it. I got some crazy stuff to talk about today. So got a lot, but strap in. Here we go. Okay. I'm gonna put this over here. Oh, what is that? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna put this over here. Sorry. I'm OCD. Okay. So here we go. How long do you have for a grenade to explode once you pull the pin? So apparently, I was imagining having to throw a grenade, and I was like, man, if I was like in a war situation and I had to throw a grenade, I'm like, once I pull it or like release the lever, how long do you have? Like, because if it was like close quarters and you don't want them to be able to throw it back. So it's apparently about 3 to 5 seconds on average. Dang, look at my hands are messed up from my kettlebell workout. Sorry. Anyways, distracted. It's about 3 to 5 seconds once you let go of the lever. So you can pull the pin and just hold it. And then once you let go of the lever, you got 3 to 5 seconds before something bad's going to happen. So there's that. Another one. Is there rising HIV in Thailand? I was hanging with this Thai chick here that I know. And we were talking about ladyboys and stuff. And she was telling me how HIV is like on the rise here. And it really is. There's over 13,000 new cases in 2025. It's mainly men. It's due to the ladyboys, I think, in those situations. So that's kind of what's going on. But yeah, that's not good. I think it's a lot of due to people think these days that HIV is not a big deal, because there's pretty good treatments, and it's definitely less big of a deal than it's been in the past, but it still will get you. And she had a friend who was a ladyboy who died of HIV, so yikes, got like some kind of crazy pneumonia or something and freaking died. And so that's not good to know that. So anyways, I was looking into that. Okay, we'll skip one real quick and go to Ed Gein. I saw a Netflix trailer for this freaky movie. And it was this guy, and he was like killing people and wearing their skin, and it was just all crazy. And I was like, who is Ed Gein? Because that's who it's based on. And this dude, he's basically kind of the inspo for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't think it's that accurate, but this dude would kill people and like make things with their skin and like wear their skin. And he made like a woman suit, and just freaky shit, dude. And man, the trailer was so disturbing. And then I was looking into this, and I was like, what a freaky dude. And yeah, so that's Ed Gein. Yeah, so he inspired numerous horror films: Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs, etc. but that was a real dude. He was arrested in 1957, apparently. Um, Okay, so he was raised with an alcoholic father and domineering, religiously fanatical mother who isolated him and instilled a deep aversion to sex. Which, dude, this will get into what I'm going to talk about later, but yeah, it's just, that's freaking crazy, dude. That dude's a freak. I don't like it. I don't really like to know about that personally, but anyways, you wonder what you wonder. Okay. Is Thailand or Indonesia more impoverished? Turns out it is Indonesia. So poverty rate in Thailand is 5.4%. Indonesia is 8.4%. Extreme poverty rate in Indonesia is 0.85. So Indonesia's worse. And I think Indonesia has significantly more people. So that's a bummer. But yeah, I was just kind of wondering about that. Let's go next one, which is how much worse was the rape of Nanjing in China than what's happening in Gaza? So I'll get to this in a bit because I'm listening to the hardcore history on Japan and World War II and all this. Well, when Japan was fighting China. And there's a city called, I think it's Nanjing, or they say Nanking, how they used to pronounce it, but anyways. Japan went in there and I think it was 6 weeks of basically raping and killing everyone. And it's insane, dude. So look at this. It was 6 weeks in 1937. Estimated deaths range from 40,000 to over 300,000. There's a lot of propaganda about it, so I think usually about somewhere between 200 and 300,000 people killed. This included mass executions, with some accounts describing the killing of entire villages and indiscriminate murders of men suspected being soldiers. Between 20,000 and 80,000 women and girls were raped, often gang raped, with victims including children under 8 and elderly women. Pregnant women were targeted, with fetuses sometimes being torn out. Acts involved torture, looting, arson, burning people alive, killing contests, and forced family members to rape each other. The city was systematically destroyed, creating hell on earth as described by witnesses. These events are widely regarded as one of the worst wartime atrocities in modern history, with the International Military Tribunal for the Far East later convicting Japanese leaders of war crimes. And I asked to compare this to what's happening in Gaza because I keep seeing this rhetoric online. Well, I'll just preface by saying I think what's happening in Gaza with Israel and Gaza is wrong and bad, right? It's awful. It's not. I'm not saying it's fine, guys. I think it's bad, but it seems like so many people think this is just the worst thing ever. Like, how could something happen like this? And while it is horrible, if you just learn a little history, as I'm learning more history and looking into past wars and conflicts and things that happened, like this, it makes this look like a freaking birthday party compared to the shit that used to happen in the past. And like I said, while it's horrible, and I think our intolerance to it is good, I'm not saying we should just like roll over and not care or not try to hold Israel accountable for what they're doing. Not saying that, but I just think you gotta be rooted in like reality, for like what is the reality of war and these conflicts and generational conflict and all these things that are happening. And I just think it helps to have a realistic view of the realities of war and what's happening. And over time, war has been getting less nasty to civilians, and there has been less war crimes, right? And you can look at some of the stuff in Afghanistan and recent modern urban warfare in the Middle East, and there was a lot less civilian casualties, and things were a little more chill compared to like this Nanking thing and this crazy shit that used to happen back in the day. So we're on a good trajectory, right? And I think the intolerance is good. I'm not saying people shouldn't care, be passionate about it, or want to hold Israel accountable or bring it to light. That's not my point. But I just think you need to have a clear view of how humans are and how history is and how war is and things that have happened in the past, and just integrate that into your worldview. I don't know why I think that's important. I just think it's important. Especially because I think the you look at a lot of what Israel's doing in Gaza, and I just personally see this like eruption of Jew hatred. It's just like, and I think a lot of that is because people think that like this is like nothing's ever been done like this before, and this is like uniquely evil and horrible in the scope of history, when this just couldn't be further from the case. Again, not saying it's okay, but interesting. If you look into Nanjing, and you just honestly, that entire, from like the time Japan basically industrialized and like modernized and opened their borders and started fighting with China and the US and stuff like this up into World War II, dude, it was bananas. Like the history I'm listening to, I'll get to the pod in a while, but like, dude, it's just insane. Like the history is freaking crazy, dude. So bananas. So anyways, that's one thing that's pretty crazy that I was wondering about. Okay. Let's go we'll get to some music video stuff at the end. Okay, what I'm watching. This Louis CK thing. So here we go. This is what I'm really wanting to talk about, and I'll be honest, I was gonna not talk about it. It's kind of, I don't know, it's not that fun of a subject, but I want to be honest on this podcast and authentic, and I just think I want to share it. So I got a quick story. So I'm working on my music video, right? So I'm in a deep work session on my music video, and I have this AI tool I use to upscale my videos to 4K for the final. So I'll like make a shot in 1080p, I'll upscale it to 4K using this AI tool. And so I have higher resolution final shots to cut together for my music video. Anyways, this tool I'm using, so I'm on there upscaling videos, and I get a little banner across the top of the website, and it says, our video generator can now generate not safe for work videos. So basically anything, right? And I knew they had a video generator, but I hadn't really used it. I just figured it was probably shit compared to Google and like these, and like Midjourney and these other ones. So I just never really used it for that. But anyways, so I was like, no way. And I'm curious. So I look on there, and I basically do what any red-blooded straight male would do. And I'm like, let's see what's up. So I type in titties in the prompt box and give it a spin. And sure enough, it just makes a boob video. And I was just like, and honestly, like it happened this quick, right? Because I was just like on there, and I got the pop up, and I was like, oh, clicked and whatever. So I wasn't really like thinking about it, but that video popped up, and then I was like looking at the tools in the box, and like I saw that you can upload a starting frame, so you can upload an image, and it'll make a video from that image. And honestly, like the implications of that just kind of started dawning on me, of just that tool in general. And I literally, like, my heart started racing, dude. And I got like sick to my stomach, because I was like, this is not good. And, personally, and this it also goes to that Louis CK thing, because this is a big topic, and I think I'm going to do a blog post and like a standalone video about this. But I think if you look at the prevalence of porn in our society, since the rise of the internet, and kind of the situation with a lot of young men where they're like lonely and isolated, and the birth rate's dropping and all this stuff. And I think there's like a rising prevalence of sexual dysfunction, right? And I count myself very lucky, because when I was young, my dad had a ministry that basically was like helping dudes that were addicted to porn or sex get free from that, right? And it was like a religious enterprise basically, but he had to work with people like that, right? So he made me aware of how bad sexual dysfunction can get, right? And we had family friend commit suicide because of their struggle. And I was from a young age acutely aware of how sexual dysfunction can go bad, and sex addiction and porn and everything. So my parents were careful of that stuff with me, and just made me aware of the potential pitfalls. And because of that, I am lucky to be able to have maintained a relatively healthy relationship with that stuff in my life. And because I've seen that, and I've set guardrails for myself. Like one of the things, especially when OnlyFans came on the scene, right? I I looked at that and kind of had a similar reaction to when I see this AI generator thing, where I'm like, this is bad for me. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go down this road. And so I made a rule for myself that I'm basically never allowed to pay for sex or porn or anything like that. Like, that no, like, I'm just not going to go down the road of paying money for getting anything like that. So, which is, I'm rarely in a situation that I'm tempted to do that. But with OnlyFans, right, it became crazy, right? You're just like getting bombarded with like hot chicks who you can just pay $10 or $5 to see whatever you want of them. So I was like, okay, that sounds like that's going to be unhealthy for me. So I was like, I'm not going to go down that road. So luckily with this tool, right, I look at it, and like I said, when I just tested it real quick, just genuinely out of curiosity, right, I'm just like, what am I going to get out of here? And but you have to pay credits to generate images, right? So I have a bunch of credits because I'm upscaling so many videos, right? And you pay based on time, right? So I realized, oh, so if I was even gonna use that, I would have to pay, which that's against my rules. So I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. And I just made it, like, I'm telling you, it was crazy when after I typed that in, and all the implications of that tool. Because like, think about it, you could put a picture of someone on there and then just type to have them do literally whatever you want. You can generate videos of just whatever thing you freaking want to see, right? And I'm just like, as those implications were like dawning on me, I was, it's just like this pit opened in front of me of like, that I could just see how bad this could go for me, not just me, but anyone, right? Because back to this Louis C.K. thing, I think because of all the sexual dysfunction in the culture and online porn and all these other things, there's like, I think maybe women don't understand as much. I know some women struggle with it, but for men, I think there's so much, and you hear about this, like if you watch Dr. K or these guys, they talk about how many men email them being like, I can't stop watching porn, I can't stop jerking off, and like all this dysfunction and addiction and things that is stigmatized and shameful. So it's like the top level of society isn't aware of it really, right? And I think a lot of men are aware that other dudes have these like issues and weird shit, but it's not like this mainstream thing that there's people know about. But it's like with this Louis C.K. thing, right? He had this weird thing where he would like to jerk off in front of women that were looking at him. It's like this weird thing. And this like bubbles to the surface, right? And everyone's like, oh, what the hell? My guess is that that's like, maybe that specific thing isn't that common, but there's all kinds of weird things like that people just keep to themselves and are like, you're never going to tell anyone that, or like you don't want anyone to know that. So you mix that situation, our cultural situation around sex and porn and all this, with a freaking box that you can type in to get whatever images and video you want out of it. And I just like, it struck me as like, this is freaking horrible. Like this is going to be so bad for society once more people start discovering this and using this. Cause I know there's some things like that already. I saw a news story about this thing called like Cloth Off or something, where you can upload a person and it'll just like remove their clothes and give you a naked AI image of them. But this video thing, and like video, you can like upload a picture and it'll make a video and you can just make whatever video you want. I'm just like, dude, I just think it goes so bad. And so I was just like, in that moment, I just knew, I was like, this is something I can never fuck with again. Like, I'm never going to touch this. I'm never going to use it. Can't do it, because I think I just see how bad that can go. It's just too much. It's like men in general and people, it's like everything kind of revolves around sex anyways, to a certain degree, right? It's like it's like our most primal driving desires, right? And I think that's why in a lot of ancient religions and cultures in general, you have like a pretty tight grip on sexuality and marriage and like extramarital sex and things like this, because it can spiral out of freaking control and go in these weird, dark, crazy places easily. And I just think a magic box that just lets you see what literally ever your heart desires. Part of me is like, that should be illegal. Like, I feel like we should make that shit illegal. And maybe it will be. But I was just like, yeah, it rocked my shit. It like rocked my psyche for just myself and humanity. I'm just like, this is crazy. And so, like I said, I think I'm so lucky, I think, to have made that decision that I'll never buy porn or sex or anything like that. because I don't know if I didn't have that guardrail, how I would have like interacted with that. Cause like I could feel the pull. I'm not gonna lie. Like I could feel the pull. I'm like, it's just like anything you could possibly want to see, type it. And I'm just like, oh. But happy to say I didn't do it. So stay strong. But I'm pretty, like I said, it rocked me hard enough that I'm like, I'm honestly not that worried about it for myself at this point, because I can see, like I said, it's like the feeling I got, I could just see this pit of just despair, because that kind of shit ruins people's lives all the time. It's like their life starts revolving around these weird sexual habits or addictions or like proclivities that get weird and sick and twisted. And I've just seen it happen. I know it happens. And I've heard enough stories and stuff. And like Louis C.K. is a good example of it. He doesn't talk about exactly how he got to be the way he was, but in this pod, with Theo, he's very candid and he talks a lot about his recovery, which is what I will say was very heartwarming and amazing. And I think, man, the redemptive arc of like him in this weird, shameful thing, probably going to kill himself, if the whole world hates you, and like this weird thing's outed, and like how do you deal with that? And like his recovery and way he managed his life and his sexuality after that, and the fruits that came from that is really amazing. And I ended the podcast going, wow, what a cool arc. Not, I think like, I don't know the exact specifics of what he did. I don't think anything he did, it was unconsensual. I just think it was weird. And he talks about it in there, but very interesting. And so that's a pod I watched that had me kind of just at the same time as I discovered that AI tool, kind of all that stuff kind of coalesced. And also this pod on trigonometry about population collapse, which is impending and really bad. And I think that has a lot to do with porn and sexual dysfunction and all the, all that stuff. So that's an interesting pod. What else I'm watching? Biology interview with, who's this guy? Pompliano, Mike Pompliano. This is cool because what I learned on this podcast is that the network school, which if you've been following me or watching me for a while, I applied for like a fellowship there where they give you a grant to go live at the network school for a year. It's like $100K. I never heard back from it, which I'm not surprised, but I didn't realize you can just sign up and enroll. Like it's just $3,000 a month. And it includes a private room, gym, all your food, coffee and everything. And then like a bunch of working spaces, obviously all these lectures, like it's like school. So there's lectures and conferences and all kinds of guest speakers come, and like you get to collab with people and work with people. So I when I'm considering that, I get this feeling, which is a familiar feeling that I have sometimes, where I have this sense of fear and I'm scared. I'm like, oh, that would be too scary to be around all these like tech entrepreneurs, and like it's like school and I'm retarded, and like I didn't finish high school. Like, could I ever do that? And I'm an artist. Like, would that make sense? And like all these things and all this fear, and it's this feeling like that's what I need to do. It's like all the best shit is on the other side of fear. And so when I have something that deep down I want to do and sounds really interesting and cool to me, but I like have this fear and all these reasons start bombarding me of why I shouldn't do it and why I can't do it and why I'd be weird and I might get embarrassed, or like my ego and like all these things start bombarding me, I'm like, oh, gotta do it. So I think I'm gonna look a little more into it to see the details and talk to them, and I think I'm gonna enroll and freaking go. So we'll see. I just discovered that yesterday, so that remains to be seen. Last thing here, I'm watching Candace Owens, bro. There's some weird shit about the Charlie Kirk shooting. I know Candace Owens is kooky, but I think she's onto something. And there's shit is weird. I'm not saying it's a giant conspiracy, but there's some definite things that need to get answered. The feds are acting weird. The evidence is weird. Shit isn't lining up, right? There's weird shit. And I know she's crazy, but if you go to the pod, and she has a couple live streams on this, I think she's like 3 or 4 deep, and they're getting millions and millions of views, 8 million views, crazy about it. There's something going on, and I'm not surprised. You look at pretty much all the past political assassinations for the last 100 years, and there's something weird about all of them. And I think there's something weird about this one. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's up, but she's on the freaking trail. And everyone's lying about her, and it sucks to see these other podcasts like making up these lies about her, and then I'm watching her address them and be like, this is just total bullshit. Like on Patrick Bet David, they were saying her and Charlie had a silent breakup, and she hasn't done Turning Point for years and years, and they haven't talked for years and years, and blah, 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 all this shit. And she's like, you're retarded. I was on the Turning Point Point tour last year. Here's me speaking. Here's all the dates I did with Charlie. We never had a breakup or stopped talking. We've always been friends. This is just lies and bullshit. And just has the receipts, has the text, has the speaking dates, her videos of her speaking at the events. Like, it's like, dude, you're freaking lying. To discredit her, which is a sign, thumbs up in my opinion. So you can judge for yourself, but I'm gonna be watching her closely because I think she's onto some shit. And another thing I'll say about the conspiracy stuff, it's like she's pretty kooky and out there, and I think she reads into some stuff maybe a little further than you should or could read into it. I'm not going to say she's right about everything, but I think it's like you need those people in society. It's like they talk about, I've heard this theory of why psychopaths exist and why they haven't been like edited out of the gene pool. And it's because theoretically, societies actually do benefit, especially in the past, from having individuals that were cold, right? That could just go murder and kill and like do awful things for the good of the group, basically. You kind of needed some of those people. Or maybe you didn't need them, but they conferred a benefit to society, especially through like the earlier kind of developmental stages of human evolution. There was a benefit to having those people around. And I think they become way worse once you have these big societies and cities where they can hide, and like move and like whatever. But that's a theory. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I would say it's the same thing with these conspiracy theorists, people like Candace and Alex Jones and whatever other people that are just like hot on conspiracy theories and just like ready to go into any conspiracy theory. I think they're important to have around, and I think you gotta judge the information for yourself, but we need people that are skeptical and are digging, because the government does lie. These giant institutions do lie. It's like if you go back through history, whether it's the freaking cigarette industry, the food industry, the governments and false flags and all these things, there is documented 100% fact, true conspiracy theories of awful things the government has done and lied about and tricked and sneaked and did all these horrible things. And it's that shit is real, right? So we need these people like Candace and Alex Jones and these who just are skeptical of everything and dig and dig and dig and question and never trust the narrative. You need them to dig. And I think you got to be careful, because it's not like there's no bad side effects. I think when you look at Alex Jones with the whole Sandy Hook thing and him saying that was completely fake and like doxing the parents and all this, like that was bad. And there is bad things to pay for the conspiracy theorism, but I think it's a necessary trade-off, and I think you need the people who will dig and expose the truth, or try to expose the truth. So that's just my take on it. Take it or leave it. We'll move on here. What I'm reading, Jeremiah. I actually finished Jeremiah today, and I'm on to Lamentations. And, I was doing some research into Jeremiah, who he was kind of, and I'm like, is there any records of this guy outside of the Bible? Do we know about him from auxiliary sources? And apparently there's really not a lot about him. And I'm wondering about his prophecies and stuff, where it's like, how accurate was he with his prophecies from God, and like what was prophesying, and like a person like that, how were they viewed at the time? And kind of how would that have looked, and like what is going on there, because he's always giving these messages and proclamations and things, and like how would a person like that have been viewed in that society? And like it's interesting because I almost think it's like somewhat analogous to our like political pundits and commentators and online people we have now that are predicting what's going to happen and giving their takes on stuff and putting out messages and propaganda or not. I think prophets were kind of that era's version of that, right? And because the main thing he's doing in Jeremiah is he's just saying how Babylon's going to come roast Israel, right? And he's just prophesying about that. Prophesying some about how Israel's going to eventually come back, etc. But, and he was right. And I think he was right about Babylon taking over. And I'm just wondering, like, at that time, would it be like the people before Russia attacked Ukraine be like, Russia's going to attack Ukraine and bomb them and roast them and stuff like that? And you can, like, there was news at the time, right? And he kind of was he was like politically savvy and knew kind of the geopolitics of the area and had reason to predict that, Babylon was going to invade Israel and take over and everything. And, what was like getting a prophecy from God like? Was he claiming to like hear God's voice, or was it like a vision, or was it like what was the whole spiel on that? And I think it turns out, from what I learned, it was a mix, right? Where sometimes you get a vision, sometimes you just have strong convictions, sometimes you would get a direct message from the Lord, etc. But there were lots of other prophets. Like there was tons of prophets, and they'd argue. Some prophets would say, "No, God told me this," and then Jeremiah would be like, "Well, that's not God. That's a demon, or that's wrong, or trying to deceive you," and da da da. And so, which is makes it weird because you also have this case in the Old Testament where I forget which, I think it was Isaiah, but like God, like the angels say, "Hey, we're going to go give false messages to all the prophets so that the king does XYZ," right? We're going to be a deceiving spirit to like make the prophets prophesy wrong information to the king, so the king makes this blunder and gets roasted. And God says, "Okay, go do it." So you even have this weird situation where angels are like influencing prophets to say wrong shit, and like it's this pretty weird thing. I don't know how to wrap my brain around it exactly, but that's that. Um, keep on going down Lamentations. The king of, I think, Israel. Man, all their names, Jehoiakim or something like that. I don't know one of them. He gets, Babylon shows up. He tries to run away. He gets caught. The king of Babylon executes all his family and children and everyone in front of him, and then gouges his eyes out. So that was the last thing you ever saw. That's rough. That's a rough thing. And then takes him in chains to Babylon. So we don't like that happening. That's not good. And see, that's what I'm talking about with the rape of Nanjing and Gaza and all this. It's like the shit that used to happen for most of human history and war and things like that. Like, that is crazy mode. Like, they were savages. Like, it was so freaking bad, you know? So, you know, not that things aren't bad today, but you just gotta keep an eye on where we came from, you know, like straight up. So anyways, okay, what I'm listening to is This Is the Hardcore History. Let me tell you, if you get through the first episode, it's like 4 hours of setup, and he starts basically from like samurai Japan, feudal Japan, where they kind of get rid of samurais and like reorient into like a corporate life kind of, or like, you know, get rid of samurais and put everyone into like businesses and stuff like that, and this thing. And then they open up to the world and they realize, holy shit, the world's advanced, we're not, we better get our shit together. And they send out spies all over the world to like see the different societies and what they do well and bad to like upgrade their society. And it just takes you through the history all the way through these conflicts with China and these different conflicts and blah, 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 till you hit Pearl Harbor, bro. And I'm telling you, when you get all that backstory, all that history, all the conflicts, the people, how it was with the emperor and the internal governmental political conflicts within Japan itself, and the different political parties, and how the culture was, and the people and the beliefs and all these things, you get all this context and put this puzzle together of kind of what builds up to this, and the conflicts that are brewing with World War II and everything. And then you get Pearl Harbor, and it's just like, bro, I was in the line at the airport listening, and I'm just like, literally like, oh, and I'm just like, it's riveting, dude. It's like riveting history. It's so crazy, and I'm just loving it. It's so interesting. And for me, just, it's like brain food, dude. It's so cool and interesting and just amazing. Photo dump. Here we go. Some clouds. This is the view from my window. This is me in the car with some Versace glasses. Come on. Fashion. This is my 20 kg kettlebell that I got. I think it was $30, so we're good. And so I'm working out with that every day. Excuse me. This is my music video crew. This isn't the whole crew. This is just all who was left to tear it down. There was probably maybe 10 other people who aren't pictured here that had either left or weren't there for the photo. But thanks, guys. This is me at the airport. Hello, got all my stuff. Oh, this is nice. I was going through old photos. This person texted me, "Hey, Danny, I just want to thank you. I recently went through a heartbreak, and I saw your blog called Letting Go. It really helped me move on and moving through this difficult time. Just wanted to say thank you. Have a blessed week." Oh, that's so nice. So I love that. And so I put a link here to the post if you want to go back and read it, to that Letting Go post. So that's that. And that's my update. I have a couple other things I wanted to just mention on here story wise. Um, I was at the airport and I'd seen this lady, younger lady, very pretty, and I'd just kind of seen her walking around or whatever. And I'm just sitting there listening to my pod. And I see her walking over and she looks at me, but I think she's just walking by, but then she comes up to me. So I'm like, what? And she's like, hello, do you have 100 rupees cash because I can only get 50 from the ATM and da da da. And so I was like, she's like, I'll PayPal you, but I don't need to get 50 out. And so I'm looking and I had like 70. I was like, counting. I was like, I got 70. And she's like, okay, I'll PayPal you. And I was like, how much is it? And she's like, oh, it's like €2. And I was like, oh, here, just have it. So I just gave it to her and she was like so thankful. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. I'll pay you. I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, it's not worth $2 for me to freaking do a whole PayPal bullshit. So I'm like, here. And so she's like, oh, thank you so much. And she's dipped. And then she came back. Even later, she came back and she's like, hey, thanks again. That helped us so much. I appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. And I just felt like $1,000,000. Like, I don't know why, but I felt so good. I was like, man, I wish people would ask me for $2 more so I could feel like that more, like, but then here's what I was thinking. It was a double edger because it felt very nice. But then I was like, I've been in kind of similar situations like that with like an Indonesian person where they're not so nice, but they're like asking me for money or trying to get extra money from me. And I'm a piece of shit about it. And I'm like stingy. And I'm like, no, fuck you. I'm not like that mean, but I've been in a few situations where I'm like stingy and I'm like, why was I so willing to give this chick money and feel good about it when I've been in situations where there's much needier people and I'm like stingy. Not always like that. Like I've given big tips and gave people money and given people shit and like whatever. Been generous. I'm not just like a complete piece of shit. But I was wondering like how much of it had to do with that she was like a pretty white chick, right? She like looked like my race and she was beautiful and she was like nice. And he's like, that why I got such a good feeling of it and was so willing to give her money? Like if it was like a ugly Indonesian dude, would I have been like, no, I'm not giving you money? Or like, would I have taken the PayPal? Or like, I was like, man, how much like unconscious bias or like piece of shit is like lingering in me, Or like, I don't know. It just made me question that and I kind of felt weird about it. I don't know. So that was interesting that I wanted to share. And then I think last thing, I'll end off with this, which is in regard to the Charlie Kirk shooting and all this. I heard this dude on this pod. Oh, I forgot about this. I got one more thing after this. Is cool. But I heard this guy on this pod talking about how you'll hear this language. They killed him. They killed Charlie. And how that's not good because like it was a dude, right? It was a crazy dude ish. I mean, who knows who they is, but in terms of the rhetoric and like the division, right? This idea like they killed him and like they're the problem and like them and like broad strokes the left and you see the right and the left it's like they're trying to pin him on the right or the left. Like this was a mega guy or a groiper and oh, this was a left-wing lunatic trans lover and like it's like you see everyone trying to like place him on the other team so they can hate the other team and like you guys and it's just bad. It's just bad to think about things that way. It's bad for society and politics in general. It's just not good. And so I think, and I find myself saying that too. I say they killed him, but it's like a dude killed him. Like who's they? Like who was, like the evidence that the FBI has given us, he acted alone. I have skepticisms about that, but it's just interesting. And I feel like it's worth evaluating how you think of it and like being careful of they. And then, okay, really last thing I want to share with you a clip that I saw on a podcast with Sam Altman about AI, which kind of was alarming to me and just interesting to say the least. So let's watch this. She's asking him kind of, have you ever had any moments where you're like, oh, what have we done? Like, what have we built? And this is what he says. If it'll play.
There will probably come a time where our systems are, I don't want to say sane, let's say emitting more words per day than all people do. And, already like our people are sending billions of messages a day to ChatGPT and getting responses that they rely on for work or their life or whatever. Like one researcher can make some small tweak to how ChatGPT talks to you. or talks to everybody. And that's just an enormous amount of power for like one individual making a small tweak to the model personality.
Yeah.
Like no person in history has been able to have billions of conversations a day. And so, somebody could do something. But this is like, just thinking about that really hit me of like, this is like a crazy amount of power for one piece of technology to have. And like, and this happened to us so fast.
Yeah.
That we gotta like think about what it means to make a personality change to the model at this kind of scale. And yeah, that was like a moment that hit me.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, where it's like, if you have something that basically everyone's plugged into in a conversational, relational way, and it's like most of the planet is like plugged into this thing, and you could literally have one person go in and tweak it to be a little more biased, and think of the effects that would flow across the globe. Give it a little more bias towards this information, or a little more bias towards this personality, or a little more like this or that, or remove one restriction or add one restriction. How big of a freaking impact that can have. And I think there needs to be some kind of oversight for OpenAI and these big LLMs. Like, when you're, as far as making changes and like doing things, like who is doing it and what Tucker Carlson pressed him on that in their interview, where he's like, who are these people that are making the ethics for the thing? It's like, people are making ethical decisions about what they'll say, what they won't say, what's right or wrong, how it navigates right and wrong, and ethics, right? These people are making this decision. It's like a small team of people. And soon that's going to just have its tentacles wrapped around the entire globe of people. And you have a small group of people influencing that. That's consequential, in my opinion, and worth paying attention to, and being smart about how we navigate that. Anyways, that's basically me full update for you. I know that's a lot. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. Part of me thinks like these thoughts I have and these ideas and these things I talk about, if I should just pick the most important ones and just make dedicated videos to each topics and just not talk about as much stuff and be more selective, or if I should just brain dump these giant live streams. I don't know what the right move is. It's like a push and a pull between what I want to do, what's convenience, what feels right, and like what are people actually going to watch? How am I going to get the most out of my time? If I'm spending here, all this time making these live streams and doing these updates with like all this information that's so broad, is anyone going to freaking consume it if it's in this format and like so scatterbrained? I don't really know. I don't think people are really watching the whole thing these days. Maybe some people are, but who knows? I'll figure it out as I go. And like I said, I think with the AI porn thing, I'm going to probably just do a dedicated post or like video about that, because it just seems, it's like probably one of the most consequential things I've seen in a while, because I think the implications are just going to be vast once that starts getting mainstreamed and catching on. I just think it's going to be absolutely horrible for people. So I would recommend staying away from that. Notice I didn't tell you what the tool is, because I don't want to tempt you. So freaky, dude. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you click the link in the description, you can sign up for my updates for free, and like all the post, you can go through the post. So it has all the links, so you can click into any of the questions to get the answers and read about it, and all the videos and all the links and everything. And I do this each week. It's my weekly update, Wonderneath Weekly. And there's also at the bottom of the post a free link to book a video call with me to chat about any of this with me. If you want to say hi, or you want to talk about any of these topics, debate it, the Bible stuff, whatever, I'd love to talk to you. I'm a freaking lonely guy, traveling by myself, so feel free to say what's up, and we'll see you. Oh, I kind of want to share some of my music video. I'll do it next week. Anyways, I got some cool clips. You can look forward to it next week. Anyways, I got to pee super bad, so I'll see you. Thanks for watching. Bye.